Rescue Out of the Unknown by Unknown from Adventures into the Unknown number 4, April 1949. The Lebecque Legacy. At Barron's Continental Circus, it was time for Magic on the Flying Trapeze, starring Lily and George Lebecque. High above the arena, pert, dark Lily Lebecque stood poised on the swinging trapeze. Suddenly, as the cymbals clanged and the spectators stifled cries of fear, she launched into a plunging dive, hurtling down from her perch at headlong speed towards the deceptively soft-looking turf below. 100 feet away, smoothly, most effortlessly, her husband George slipped his trapeze into position. For a moment, it appeared as though Lily would shoot by to a certain death, and then strong arms reached forward and plucked Lily out of midair to safety. The tension broken, the spectators cheered, whistled, stamped their feet, left the arena singing the praises of the flying Lebecque. What a pair! What teamwork! She seems to know every move he's making, every second. No wonder she can go through the entire act with a blindfold around her eyes. And the way he gets to her and breaks her dive at the last moment, those two are more than a team. They're really magic. George and Lily Lebecque were more than a team. George knew every move that Lily was going to make. He knew her every thought, and Lily knew, to the split second, when George's lean, powerful fingers would grasp her own in midair and break her dive. She knew always what George was thinking and doing. She knew when things were going well and when there was danger. The Lebecs never applied a name to the sixth sense that was the lifeline of their existence. They accepted it, an unknown force that bound them closely together and held them safe. The night that George's trapeze snapped in two, Lily was crouched on her perch, muscles tensed to spring off into space in her final dive. At the last instant, it was as though an arm had reached out of space and held her back, halted her headlong leap. Her heart skipped a beat. She knew suddenly that this time, George would not be there to catch her up and break her fall. George would not be there, she knew. Lily Lebecque tottered, slipped. In a last despairing effort, she hooked an elbow around the crossbar, saved herself from a crushing fall. George fell instead, as the broken trapeze gave way. At the hospital, they told Lily that George's back was broken. Yes, he had a chance to live, if he would fight for it. Lily answered simply, "Of course we will fight." George said only, "I will live to see the Lebecque on the high trapeze again, soon." To Lily, he insisted, "In the meantime, the act must go on. You will get a new partner until I return. I will direct you." Reluctantly, Lily agreed. The week's practice went swiftly. Each morning, George issued instructions from his hospital bed. "Practice the dives most of all," he would insist, "and the timing. Each evening, when Lily came back to the hospital, he seemed to know how the session had gone. When the practice went well, he was well. As the new team improved, George seemed to improve too. It was as though George could see the practice sessions from the hospital bed. It was as though George was living for Lily's reappearance in the arena. In a week, the new partner was as ready as he would ever be. He knew the motions, but he did not know, he could never know, his partner's every move, every thought, as George Lebecque had known them. Lily Lebecque, as she waited for her cue on the night of the big show, felt cold. For the first time in her career, she was afraid. That night, as he lay on his hospital bed, in more pain than he would admit, George Lebecque saw Lily's performance unfold before his eyes like a movie on a screen. In his mind's eye, he saw her swing out for the final dive, the great plunge towards the waiting, swinging arms of her partner 100 feet below. In the arena, as Lily, blindfold over her eyes, spangled costume gleaming in the light, swung out for her final dive, she could not see or feel that her new partner, nervous, had slipped, missed his timing. But she could hear the gasps, the cries of warning from the crowd. "He's not going to reach her in time. He can't catch her." Lily Lebecque tore the blindfold from her eyes. Down she hurtled, heading towards her death. In the crowd, there were few who could agree on what happened next. Some said Lily just stopped, in midair. Others insisted she soared, suddenly up like a slim, shining bird taking off in flight. But everyone saw her twist sharply over the arena, in a last despairing effort, it seemed, and everyone saw her shoot up, up. With their own eyes, they saw her reach the nearest overhead trapeze. Then the tumult broke over the arena. 1,000 straining voices shouted, Lily Lebecque is safe. She's been saved. Saved. It's a miracle. 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 A no one but Lily herself saw the dark, shadowy figure that had appeared in the air out of nowhere, out of the unknown. The dark, shadowy figure that caught her broke her fall, lifted her to the safety of the high trapeze. When the blood flowed back to her face, when once again she could lift her head, Lily looked about. The dark figure had gone. In the length and breadth of the huge arena, no one else had seen it, but Lily Lebecque knew that he had been there. For an instant, her eyes turned to the clock at the far end of the arena. The dial registered 8:02 p.m. Almost against her will, the unknown force drew Lily to the hospital. Something told her what she would find. Her husband, George, was dead. In his hand, as she looked upon him for the last time, he held a single gleaming spangle from an aerialist's costume. The hospital record listed the time of his death 8:02 p.m. Had George Lebecque's spirit lived on just long enough to save his wife? Had the Flying Lebecques, in death as in life, remained the parrot team? Again, as though prompted lie a voice from the timeless spaces of the unknown, silent, haunted, Lily Lebecque knew the answer to these questions. The end.
And so, our terrifying tale comes to a ghastly close, a haunting reminder that cultural norms are but a graveyard of forgotten values. The creepy attitudes, blood-curdling language, and spine-tingling customs depicted herein may send shivers down your spine, but remember, they're part of our shared nightmare. This story is screaming to be shared, proudly presented in the public domain, where it will linger like a ghost, free to possess your imagination. Farewell, dear victim. Dear reader. May our tale leave you dying for more.